everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are here to wish you all a very happy Loveuary. We hope you've had a great month. And today we are talking about 3 of the Jane Austen Month Loveuary films from 2024 on Hallmark Channel. The Sense and Sensibility adaptation is going to be covered by the Mahogany cast because it's a Mahogany film. So we're talking about these 3 others. So that's going to be super fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Natasha Alvar is here. And Natasha, thank you so much for doing this.
Yay! I mean, I love February. I love Valentine's. So, of course.
So you just love Loveuary, right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I love the name. It's great. It's a great name.
Yeah. I mean, I think Countdown to Valentine's Day was a little bit stronger. And then they tried Love Ever After. And then because I think they didn't like the fact that Countdown to Valentine's had to stop on the 14th. Whereas like
Okay, that
Countdown,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, because like Countdown to Christmas is like the end of the month. And so
There's more of a build up, right?
yeah. But yeah, then they tried Love Ever After. And that was, not memorable. But Loveuary, that you remember.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I think it's a name that will stick.
Yeah.
It's a name that will stick. Yeah.
But yeah, how have you been?
I've been good, I guess. Currently it's like almost almost the end of term here in Singapore. So like there's a lot of marking that's come in, there's a lot of
Mhm.
exams. So
Yeah.
I'm like busy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you just posted your 1,000th movie review.
Uh
That's amazing.
well,
Congratulations.
yeah, I did that too. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I think when you're so busy, you kind of forget like the little,
Yeah.
like the small little achievements, right? Yeah. 1,000 reviews. I can't believe it. It's
Yeah.
been since 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a
Congratulations.
while. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy
Yeah.
and a bit like, oh,
I mean, it
but
really
yeah.
is a lot. You said it's since 2018.
Yeah. Yeah.
6 years, 1,000 reviews in 6 years. That's a lot. Way to go.
Yeah. Thanks. I think like sometimes I guess you don't see it like
Yeah.
that. You just kind of
Yeah.
do it, right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
then it kind of adds up and you're like, whoa, I've done 1,000. Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, I'm excited that they have Peacock in Singapore because now we can hopefully have you reviewing more of these Hallmark movies because you can see them with greater ease. And so we had done a ranking of the novels over on my other channel of Jane Austen's novels a while back. And so when I saw this, I was like, ooh, I think that this will be interesting. But for the record, for this for Hallmarkies podcast, would you describe yourself as a Janeite, as a big Jane Austen fan?
I think I would. I've
Yeah.
read um all 6 of her novels. I
Uh-huh.
think it's she's the only author I think I kind of reread,
Yes.
like besides the Brontes, I think. So I think if an author can make you like, especially because nowadays we don't have time, right? Uh like if I have to read something, I think it really needs to be worth my while. So the fact that I've reread like some of her novels and I've read
Mm-hmm.
all of her books. So I think I would say so. And I get
Yeah.
very defensive over Jane,
Yes.
especially with men
Oh.
who just, I mean, I think in Love and Jane there's one example of that. But I think sometimes
Mm-hmm.
um some men, not all men, I guess, some men that I have like dealt with, if you say like, Jane Austen is one of your favorite authors and you're a lit
Yes.
major, they kind of like sneer at it, because they feel like, oh, doesn't she just write about like marriage and
Mm-hmm.
love, so, and they kind of look at it as like inferior concepts for
Yeah.
some reason. And I'm like, aren't you married? Like, or, haven't you been in love? Like, I don't think, just
Yeah.
because you write about these things that it's inferior.
They're
Yeah.
like the person on the plane at the beginning of Paging Mr. Darcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. There's a lot more to them than than your sort of dime romance novels. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but they have some of the greatest character arcs in the history of literature. It's not just about the romance, and that's what kind of irritates me when it gets degraded to just that, and that's one of the many reasons I really dislike Austenland, is that I feel like it completely misses the mark of why we love these books. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's not for me. But yeah, so when I first heard that they were doing this, I groaned, like audibly groaned. I'm like, oh no, because up until this point, the adaptations, quote unquote, that Hallmark had done of Jane Austen were name only. Like in one of them, they
Oh.
have Wickham being the friendly mayor. It made no sense. Like it made no sense. Like
Wickham as mayor.
it was
Yeah.
just it was just the names. It wasn't any of the story or the themes or the ideas or anything. In Sense and Sensibility of Snowman, they have the more high-spirited sister named Eleanor and the more reserved one named Marianne. They just like don't even care, and it would make me crazy, and I really didn't like that. And so when I heard they were doing Jane Austen Month, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a long month. It's gonna be hard. But I have to give them credit. They tried their hardest. All three of these were way better than any of what they had done before, even though one I didn't care for. Still, they tried. These all had effort. They were all trying to make something good, I think, in the case of all three of these movies. That was an homage to Jane Austen.
I agree. I think at least the people who wrote these scripts, I think, have a modicum of knowledge of Jane Austen. I would say. I think even maybe more so than the people who adapted Persuasion, the one on Netflix.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Mr. Elliot is the great love story in that movie. If you only believe.
Precisely.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, precisely. So I think there's a fair effort there. I think some succeeded more than others. But I think I enjoyed myself watching these films. So I can't hate that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It turned out much better than I would have expected. So way to go, Hallmark.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So let's dive into these movies. The first one, it's called Paging Mr. Darcy, and this stars Will Kemp and Mallory Jansen, and its director Peter Wellington, writer Raina Hardy. And it's when an overly serious scholar attends an annual Jane Austen conference, she has a sudden change of heart when she strikes a deal with the man who's playing Darcy. So overall, what did you think of this one?
I really enjoyed it. I think it's probably number 2 out of the 3, I think. I think I always love Will Kemp. I think he's so charming. And I think he's done one of my favorite like Christmas movies. I think Christmas Waltz. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed
so
that.
good.
Yeah. So he's just, when there's dancing involved, you can count on Will Kemp to
Yes.
just deliver.
Yeah.
He's such a heartthrob, I don't know. So I really enjoyed him
Hmm.
in the role. I think that they had credible chemistry. I wouldn't say it's fantastic chemistry.
Yeah.
I think it does make sense, that they kind of build a friendship, and then after that, there's more feelings.
Hmm.
So I kind of enjoyed that. I think what I really liked about this film is trying to find the pieces of Austen's novels in the
Hmm.
narrative. So I was like, oh, okay, like this feels, a lot like one of her books, right? And I think that kind of made me enjoy it. I really enjoyed the sister relationship between the sisters as well. I felt it felt realistic. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
and
you
I
definitely
think,
see little
yeah,
bits of Sense and Sensibility in particular
yeah.
with these two sisters. I agree. It's my second favorite of these three. I loved Will Kemp. I thought he was really good. Overall, it was enjoyable. I really did not like the sister though. I struggled with her. She was a lot of personality. I was just like, oh wow, you're really annoying me. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of
Which is
struggled.
supposed, I guess, to be modeled after Marianne, right?
Yeah,
The
but I don't know. It was just a little
yeah,
much for me. But not enough. It didn't ruin it or anything, but it made me less enjoy it less. Because I just thought she was really annoying. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty buttoned up character for a Hallmark movie. I mean, she is very serious. She doesn't like really want to have fun or enjoy herself at this conference at all.
yeah, yeah,
Um, she uh, she doesn't like the fact that people are in Regency cosplay. They're playing games. They're doing this little play. All that. She thinks it's silly. She's a very serious character.
yeah, yeah. Um, but I guess we understand why, right? I mean, based on the
Hmm.
backstory of why she kind of like is a fun killer
Yeah,
initially, I guess
she
because of
is.
her own background when she
Hmm.
was younger or something, and she attended one of these things, right? Um, Yeah, I felt like it was an interesting perspective to step into because I think a lot of people sometimes feel that Jane Austen cannot be looked at with a fluffy kind of sense, right? Because we feel
Hmm.
like, oh, she must be taken very seriously because
Hmm.
otherwise, we are kind of demeaning her, and
Yeah.
we have to kind of study her in a very academic sense. So I kind of like that they explored that side of it, that
Hmm.
has wonderfully written and as and all Austen's wit, right? Her humor, and how amazingly written her books are and how, they hold up very well and you can study them. But at the same time, I think there's a fun side to it. And I think I like that the film kind of said you don't have to be
Hmm.
guilty about liking, all the escapist, I think, aspects of Jane Austen. So
That's true.
yeah,
That's
I
kind
kind of
of the
enjoyed
flip
that.
side of
Yeah.
what I was talking about earlier, where the people are quick to discount Austen, but then maybe sometimes we overcorrect and don't allow
Yeah.
for
Yes.
the fun. I mean, there's a lot of more complicated reasons why I didn't like Austen Land, but like the concept of going to an Austen themed park sounds amazing. Like an experience like that should be super fun. So I kind of get that, um, but yeah, they kind of so basically like so she has this professor that's there that's going to give her the dream job at Princeton that she always wants. So she's really trying hard to make a good impression too. That and to sell herself as like an academic. So I think she's also kind of overcorrecting
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
and there's this other guy there, and the Will Kemp character, Sam is his name. He doesn't want Victoria, this professor, to go with this other guy, and so they make this like deal together that they're gonna work together to try to make this happen.
Yeah, because he's trying to prevent the other guy from getting the job
Hmm.
that he thinks that guy wants. Yeah.
Yeah. And he thinks that this guy has like ulterior motives and is no good.
Yeah.
And then the sister comes and she had gotten proposed to, but like wasn't romantic enough, is what she said. This is the second time we'll
Yeah,
face this,
yeah.
evidently. And so she's very upset. She's very emotional. She doesn't think what she says. So yeah, she was a lot for me.
Yeah. But I do feel that yeah, she was a lot, but I do think that plot line is quite relatable. I think
Hmm.
sometimes, right, when spouses, have this sense of like what matters to me and what matters to the other person, like I think sometimes if you're not romantic, you might think, hey, what's the point of, going all out and with bells and whistles for a proposal, right? When the most romantic thing is that I'm saying that I'm going to commit my life,
Yeah.
I'm going to spend my life with you, right? So, like, why do I need to do all these other things, But I mean, sometimes you have to kind of just step outside yourself and do things for the person you love,
Hmm.
even if it might not be your cup of tea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
I guess it's relatable because it makes me feel like it's me and my husband because I'm like super like into all this like romantic fluff, right? And I'm
Hmm.
always hoping that he's more romantic, and he's like, but I do so many things for you that's romantic, and I'm like, I'm not knocking that. But yeah, so I can kind of understand where she's coming from, even though
Hmm.
she's like super over the top
Yeah.
about it. But yeah,
No, that's true.
I
That's a
even
good point.
had a friend, right, who proposed to his like fiance on a yacht, right? And she
Oh yeah, I
told him
remember you
like
told
that,
me this.
yeah, yeah. And she's like, that's not good enough, And, and she's like, try harder, if you
Wow.
try harder, I'll say yes. Yeah, so she said no. Like a yacht proposal with like
Wow.
people there and stuff. Yeah, man. So
That's intense.
yeah,
Are
people
they still
people
married?
want what they want. Yeah, they're still
Oh, that's
married.
that's good. That's funny. Wow. I don't know if for this movie, I don't know if I needed her to have like a traumatic backstory. They
Mm,
it could have been just enough that she is an academic trying to get this job, and so she's trying to take it seriously and doesn't want to look silly, and that's it. That's all. I don't need her to have this like I was shamed as a high school student for wearing Austen dress at prom, kind of a thing. Like I don't know if I needed it to go that far.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean,
I
most people
feel
have
like
moved on from high
she,
school. Most people don't care.
yeah. I do feel like she should have known better, even though she was 15 years old. Like, nothing good can come from doing something like that. Come on. Like, unless, like, everyone, like, maybe the team was Regency or something, like,
Yeah.
everyone's doing the same thing. Like, you're going to stand out and people are going to make fun of you. Like, come on.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel bad for you, but, yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't quite sometimes understand what his interest in her was because she was pretty rude.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, she's obviously beautiful, but I think and then they have this big fight towards the end, and she's upset with him because Mia kind of spoils the fact that she's trying to get this job for Victoria, and Victoria's like, uh, what are you? You're only here to just, you're not here for the experience. You're here for just to get this job. And so then they get in this fight, and then Mia has this like moment of clarity where she realizes that she's the Marianne and Eloise is the Eleanor. She's like, oh no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the fact that their names start with E and M, I think,
Hint. That
have
should have been
clued
a
us
hint.
in. Yeah.
And then Mia's boyfriend comes back, and he proposes this dramatic proposal, and she accepts. and she finds out that, and they find out that Sam helped Rob with the proposal. So he is a
Yeah.
romantic at heart. All right. And
Yeah.
so then Eloise gives her big speech. She talks about her love of Austen and romance, and how she's scared of falling in love and all of this. And that Sam is there. And of course, like the crowds part, and it's just like him. Yeah. And they have their dance and everything. And they have the dance at the end and she says like a million, they have a dance in the middle, and she says that like a million times, I can't be the center of attention. So she's like super awkward, which is unusual for these Hallmark movies. Not like, sometimes they have characters that are awkward, but usually it's like quirky awkward. It's like a
Yeah.
kind of manic pixie dream at girlish. That's not how she was at all. She was like legitimately awkward,
Yeah. Yeah.
not quirky
Which,
awkward.
yeah, which is fine, I guess. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, to the character.
It's a believable academic. Let's be real.
Yeah.
They aren't known
Uh,
they aren't
yeah,
known for their great
but
social skills in academia. Let's be real.
I felt like the costuming was very enchanted type of basis, because he was out of his Darcy costume and she was in full like Regency garb,
Right.
and it felt like, like that whole meeting each other halfway. I like that he wasn't in his Darcy garb, because basically it was him, right? Sam, right? Not the persona that he wears in this in this thing. Yeah, so I thought that was a nice touch at the end.
So out of 5 crowns, how many crowns would you give this Paging Mr. Darcy?
3.5 crowns.
Yeah, I would probably give it 3.75. I'd watch it again. I enjoyed it. I just thought the sister was really annoying. That was my main issue with it. I'm like, oh, she won't shut up. But I'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Elise Murray and her exciting book, Society Girl. Set in the mysterious world of Oxford University's secret societies, Society Girl follows Sam, a duke's estranged daughter, as she attempts to join the most famous club of them all, the Animos Society. Her final initiation challenge is simple: find a man, convince him she's in love with him, and then break his heart in humiliating fashion. Hardened by her father's rejections, believing that the Animos Society is her key to his love and acceptance, Sam throws herself into making Daniel Best, her father's chauffeur and local musician, fall for her. But she never counted on falling in love with him right back. Fans of Colleen Hoover, Anna Hong, and Mia Sheridan will love Society Girl, a sweeping romance from best-selling novelist and screenwriter Elise Murray. Free for Kindle Unlimited users for a limited time. Go to elisemurray.com/novels/Society Girl for more information. Or you can use the affiliate link below. Let's talk about Love and Jane. This starred Alison Sweeney and Ben Ayers, and director David Weaver, and writer Lily, a hopeless romantic and literary enthusiast, is surprised when her wish to talk to her favorite author comes true, and Jane Austen herself appears in her life. So I'll go first on this one. I wanted to like this one more than I did. I think I had a lot of problems with it, but I think it starts out, the main issue is, I hate to say it, but the casting. I think that this movie would have been a lot stronger with a younger and better cast lead. I just did not buy Allison in this role. I thought she was too old for the role, and I don't know. Maybe that's mean to say, but I just didn't buy her in this role. And I think having somebody like that's just like fresh out of college, that's like just trying to decide what she wants to do in life, I think that would have been a lot more believable for her character than Allison's character. She's in her 40s, like going through these kinds of things. And so, and I just didn't think she was very good. I just didn't think she was very good in the role, and I'm sorry. That's how I feel. But I just thought tonally it just didn't work. There were so many scenes that like should have been charming that were just weird. Like almost every scene in the Jane Austen Society felt like an AA meeting. It was like, why is this
Yeah.
not fun? Like, why are they talking this way? Like, it was so weird to me. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It just didn't work for me, unfortunately. What did you
Yeah.
think?
Um, yeah, I feel like for a Jane Austen kind of book club, the discussions were strangely like really like what you said, it really did feel like AA, where they just spill their guts and like and everyone's just overly interested in Lily's like love life. And I just feel like what's happening at these meetings, right? And I
Yeah.
sometimes I felt like Lily was just really nasty for no reason.
Yeah.
Um, like when that Trevor dude offers his bookshop has the venue for the meetings, and she's just kind of like
Yes.
pissy about it. I was like, you're getting a free space, and like this dude's providing food and free
I wrote that too.
refreshments. Like,
I said she's rude. She's rude to Trevor when he offers his bookstore as the new home for Jane Austen Society. And I think that rudeness would be more palatable in a younger character and somebody who just is just learning, and just figuring things out and just I don't know. I think that makes a difference. But yeah, she wasn't a very likable character for this kind of whimsy, for this to be like a Kate and Leopold kind of situation.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
agreed.
And also, so it starts out with this meet cute at the bookstore with her and Ben Ayres. And first of all, I was like, why is Ben Ayres even in this movie? Like his character was hardly there. They spent hardly any time together. And
Yeah, yeah,
they should have I think that they should have had her reconcile with the boyfriend, and made that the primary
yes,
relationship. Like
yes,
having
yes.
so many relationships. And so I mean, and that could have been like cute to have Jane kind of help her sort of get ready and and be cute and everything like that. But like starting a new relationship from ground zero where he's hardly ever there. I don't know. It just wasn't the writing. But yeah, there's this meet cute. And as if this woman wouldn't have like a million copies of Jane Austen. She literally runs a club. And
Yeah, yeah,
she would have it on her Kindle, her phone, like for one meeting. Like
yeah,
so
yeah,
that rang false. And she's so
yeah.
offended. She's so offended that somebody on the internet had already ordered it.
Yeah. I don't like this entire discourse of, the
No.
whole digital versus print kind of idea, and then somehow, having books go digital, it makes it like, diluted. I don't agree with that. I feel like it's actually helped
Yeah.
proliferate,
I
reading in
agree.
certain ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, you're kind of like uptight.
Yeah, well, and
Uh,
and it's helped
yeah.
some people, like they can zoom up on the letters so that they can read a little bit
Yeah.
more, and
Yeah.
so it's actually made it more accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
And like especially like audiobooks, for
Hmm.
some people, I mean, people can't see that well, right?
Yeah.
With visual
Hmm.
handicaps, right? So I just feel like yeah, and I mean the fact that even the own circle of like the people in the club, like there's a trucker, right, who listens to the
Yeah.
audiobooks of whom you loved.
Yes. Well, so let's talk about that. I mean, even though they did frame it like an AA meeting, I did those were those were fun scenes for the most part with I mean, I like the idea of the Jane Austen Society and the fact
Yeah.
that it was a pretty diverse group of readers. I mean, that to me seems a little bit of a fantasy to have three men in your Jane Austen book club. um, and one of them looked like a trucker. So there you go. And then the one that was a little bit awkward, kind of weird, his whole speech about Emma being his favorite was one of the most awkward things I've ever seen in my life. It was so strange. Like, what? Um, her her boyfriend proposes to her, and he points out that nothing is holding her in New York other than the job she hates, and that now she can take this trip to England and that they can go together, and she can actually write, which is like an amazing offer. And they didn't do enough of explaining why he's the bad guy, because her immediate rejection is like, how could you say that? How could you make that choice for me? And I'm like, what? And they call him a Mr. Collins, which makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
So I feel like, did
agreed.
something get cut where we learned that, oh, he's a bad dude, or what? Because from everything I saw, I was like, he's literally offering everything he's offering you is great.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand. He's your boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's not like you didn't know, like you were choosing to be in a relationship with this person.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's just no credible reason why she breaks it off
Yeah.
with him, and she does it so cavalierly as well. Like, it's just really strange. Like, I feel like if this person you spent so many years with is like proposing to you, it means that it's been quite serious, right? So I just kind of feel like I don't understand where she's coming from. Like, did she not love him? Like, what exactly is happening?
It made no sense. Like, he is in no way Mr. Collins.
Yeah.
No
like
way.
I mean, if you don't want to like pick up the offer or whatever, or you felt like the way he presented it was bad or something, like I don't get it. Like, I think that it kind of shows that he understands you, right?
Yeah,
That that this is
exactly.
what you want. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was
know.
saying, is that Mr. Collins was completely selfish, only thinking about how great he was and how much he was going to save the Bennett family, and that there's not even a second that he thinks that he will be rejected, and in the and he wasn't actually dating Elizabeth. In this case, you have somebody that he's actually dating. It's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And every single thing that he said is about helping her and making her feel better and making her life better and loving her. Like, it just, that's why I think it would have made more sense if there hadn't been the Ben Ayres character, and the arc had been kind of coming around to realizing, oh, this guy, kind of like what we get in the next one, but realizing that this guy was actually like loving her all along. That would have made more narrative sense.
This her relationship with Trevor makes absolutely no sense. It's like,
No,
I have no idea why they would even like each other by the end, or feel like they've been waiting their entire lives for each other. It just feels so like bizarre.
It really did make no sense. And then she's like mad at Trevor because he has purchased this publishing company, and he encouraged them to look at her manuscript, which, I'm sorry, any author that I know would be so happy that anybody looked at their manuscript. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, like give me the nepotism, like give me the connections. Like, I think it's not like they're going to publish it, right? They're just going to look at it,
you know. So that's stupid. And I mean, Jane in this narrative is the one that actually submitted it without her approval. But I always hate that when they have that as a plot device in a movie or a book, of like, even in Anne of Green Gables, just like, because Diana submits, her story. How could you do that? It's like a real, I mean, people are just excited when their stuff is published. I mean, come on. But then we also have her interacting with this Jane Austen. And the thing is that it lacked authenticity. Obviously, it's a fantasy because it's Jane Austen. But even so, like, Jane Austen is not somebody that I would think that you'd want to ask for advice on marriage and dating, certainly modern, because she never dated. She never got married. Like, why would you want advice from her? Like, it doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah. I feel like if it had been on like a writing standpoint, if you called
Yes.
upon Austen, right, for like that
Yes.
inspiration, yeah, that would
Yeah.
make more sense rather than being some love guru, like,
Right.
and they kept going on about the cattle. I was like, okay, like, just stop.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I kind of just wish it had been like a little bit cheekier and a little bit more fun, kind of like a Kate and
Yeah,
Leopold sort of a
yeah.
thing. Because it was all pretty straight, and as far as the Jane Austen stuff, it wasn't that funny. And yeah, I don't know. This one just didn't work that well for me. I wrote in my little review, I said, I didn't like this much at all. I thought the acting was forced, the casting was off, the script was weak, the understanding of Austen was superficial, the Jane Society felt like an AA meeting, and the relationship was poorly developed.
Oh,
So,
what a summary.
sorry, not my fault.
Which is spot on, I feel. Yeah. I think
One gal's
one of the
opinion.
things I one of the things like, I think is my pet peeve, right, is that I don't like it when I think characters that are supposedly lover of books, right, that they start like quoting books to each other in
Yeah,
like a, oh, I know this book. Oh, I just feel like no one does that in real life. Like,
right.
I love books and I don't go around like quoting books to other people in this kind of
Yeah,
weird way. Like,
right.
I just don't do that. I think it's always weird when they do it in films, I feel.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't feel true to life. I'm
I
sure
think
you
you
don't
might
do
have
that,
like
Rachel. Like,
one. Yeah, I think you might have like one book that you quote. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I can
yeah,
see that.
yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I agree. I would give this one I would give it 2 crowns.
Yeah, same.
All right.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
So then we have An American in Austen, and stars Eliza Bennett, Nicholas Bishop, and director Claire Niederprom, writer Cameron Johan. And it's Harriet, who thinks that no real man compares to Mr. Darcy, is transported into Pride and Prejudice and gets an unexpected chance to find out. So overall, what do you think of this one?
Firstly, I love that her name is Eliza Bennett. Like,
Amazing. And we got to interview her, and she was delightful. It was really fun. But I was like,
yeah,
this is the role you
I
were born
saw.
to play.
Yeah, fantastic, man. Yeah, so the name is like immediately, wow, this is going to be a treat, right?
Yeah.
I think for the fact that, it's probably quite budgeted, like, I don't think they're working with a big budget, but I felt like, the set and the costuming, and the characters and the spaces were quite well done for, I guess, the limitations of a TV movie, I would say. Like, it was believable enough. Of course, it doesn't have like the grandeur that you've come to expect, I think, in the spaces of certain spaces that they go to in Pride and Prejudice, because they kind of keep it very interior and very focused on particular scenes, so you can't see, like, that the budget's limited. But I think the casting was kind of good. Like, I enjoyed all the Bennett sisters. I feel like more or less they're true to life. I think the only letdown was Darcy. I felt like he was not very impressionable despite being Darcy.
Mhm.
Like he was just so forgettable. Every time he pops out, I was like, oh yeah, he's
Mm.
there. So
You know, it's interesting
yeah,
because I had
but
just watched Lost in Austin for the first time, which is basically the
oh
same story. And I
yeah,
do kind of wish that this had been able to get the 4 episodes. I think that one is that had, because I do think that especially the last 20 minutes feels very rushed,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
had to kind of rush the reconciliation between Darcy and Lizzie, and the other relationships had to kind of get all repaired very quickly,
yeah,
and it didn't
yeah,
really make a whole lot of sense for the characters. But if I am able to sort of lay that aside, be like, okay, it was a little rushed at the end, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really sweet, and everything that might be like a flaw, as far as, like, say her hair's down a lot, or she has very, she's obviously, she is modern, so like it was a smart approach to take, because everything is being seen through her eyes. This is her dream, and so it didn't necessarily have to be like perfect Regency. Like, I'm going to be way pickier when I finally watch this Sense and Sensibility, because it doesn't have that
yeah,
explanation. It's supposed to
yeah.
be, and it's supposed to be accurate. And so I think that helped. I mean, she is crazy. She's an insane person. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I was willing to go with that because she was so charming and she was so sweet. And I mean, her refusing this proposal and being like, she wanted Darcy. She wanted someone to sweep her off her feet. He literally had balloons that said "Marry me." I don't know what else he could have done that would have been more Mr.
Maybe
Darcy-ish than that proposal. I don't really quite understand how that wasn't like everything she wanted.
yeah. I think maybe if the guitar playing and singing had been better, maybe.
Maybe,
Like I'm being
maybe.
mean, I'm being mean. I
I,
thought it was very earnest and very nice and sweet. Yeah. But y- yeah, I guess there's a reason why he's an actor.
well, she says she wanted
Yeah.
someone riding up on a horse, taking her in his arms, and carrying her off into the sunset. And then her friends say, "You just described a kidnapping," which was
That
funny.
was funny. Yeah,
That's
yeah, that's
funny.
good.
But I really liked Ethan. I'd never seen that actor before. He was very, very sweet,
Yes,
very good.
yes,
I
yes.
liked him a lot.
Yeah. I think
And
for the fact that he's not in the film much, he makes such
yeah,
an impression.
he
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
Yeah. And so she has this dream in Austin land, and she's their old maid cousin visiting from America, which is funny. And everything gets messed up in the book. And at first, it starts out that she is actively trying to kind of mess it up because she doesn't think it's like real, and so she's like telling that Mary shouldn't marry Mr. Collins, and because he's actually interested in Mary instead of Charlotte. And anyway, things get like really messy, and I did enjoy that. I thought that was fun. That's why I wish there had been like 4 episodes and we could have kind of
Yeah,
seen, like in
yeah,
Lost in Austin.
yeah.
That would
Mary
have been
is
funny.
gorgeous. The actress who plays
Yeah,
Mary
she was
is
very pretty.
gorgeous.
They were all
Yeah,
beautiful in this movie.
yeah,
They
yeah. I
were
was like,
all.
damn, the
But I
Bennett
think
sisters
we
are slaying.
all don't we all kind of feel like Mary should have married Collins. They're the
She
best
did. She was
match.
interested. Yeah, yeah. Their personalities kind of gel. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I always thought she was kind of interested or in him or what he represented. I think
Mm-hmm.
what I didn't quite like was I think how he and Charlotte got together. It didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like believable to me. They
Yeah.
kind of presented it as some like love at first sight kind of thing,
Yeah.
whereas I felt like what Charlotte was doing was always kind of presenting herself as an option, right? She was kind of pandering, to him, and I think what he would need in a wife, right? So it
Yeah.
was a marriage born out of pragmatism, you know.
Right.
So I felt like they tried to make it romantic, which just doesn't make sense at all. Yeah.
Like in a way, it would make more sense for him to be with Mary, and it would probably be a happier ending for almost everybody involved.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, all the resolutions fixing all of the mess. Like the mess was fun to see it get into, but then the resolutions was all very rushed. And so you have Elizabeth falling for Wickham, which makes sense for the book, but obviously like she's not spending as much time with Darcy, and Darcy doesn't insult her. He insults Harriet, and so they don't have that animosity going into it, and they don't spend as much time together. Like when she goes to visit Netherfield and to help Jane, all that stuff. Harriet ends up going with them, so Harriet's there. All of the stuff that put Darcy and Lizzie together, all of a sudden put Darcy and Harriet together.
Yeah.
And so it just made
guess,
that ending. It made it make more sense that Elizabeth would be with Wickham. It made more sense that Elizabeth would be with Wickham because she'd hardly spent any time with Darcy at this point. She'd spent more time with Wickham. And but then they break up the marriage. They stop it.
Yeah. But I feel like Lizzie would not have run away with Wickham. Like, I don't think that's in her nature.
I do agree with that.
Like, that's something Lydia would do because she's kind of flighty that way, and because she's young as well. So, that it wouldn't occur to her, but I don't think that would be what Lizzie would do. Like,
it's true.
It makes no sense. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. It's true. I did so Darcy then proposes to Harriet, and I did think it was really funny when he says that she has remarkably white teeth. That was a good line because that is true that we have way whiter teeth and just better teeth than they did back then. So we have dental care.
Yeah. She made a comment as well about the smell, the scent, right?
Yeah.
Because I think they don't bathe very often.
Right.
And she was like, oh, that explains the smell.
Yeah, they had like the smelling salts to help them to not faint because it was so gross.
I would not survive in this. No modern toilets. I think that would kill me. That would kill me, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, when people ask like what book or movie would you want to go back if you could transport into any world of a book or movie, I do usually actually say Jane Austen because a lot of people say like superhero stuff, and I'm like, absolutely not. I would not want to be where there's like supervillains and the like, no way. And so for me, I would pick Jane Austen because what bad things could really happen to you? Like somebody
make a bad marriage.
A bad marriage. Somebody's in poor health. You have an awkward tea. Like nothing really that bad could happen to you. So I think I would pick to have this experience over like going to Harry Potter World or the MCU or something. I don't want any of that. No, thank you. I've always said, like, why does anybody stay in Gotham? I have no idea. If I lived in Gotham, I would absolutely move to the country and stay as far away from the city as possible.
I think I mentioned that in my review. I was like, the way Gotham is going on, it's interesting that it has residents still living there. I guess the idea is that if you're too poor, you don't have the means, right, to leave.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe it makes sense on that level, but I would leave Gotham. I would not be there.
Like Metropolis is slightly better. Usually the villains are just like greedy henchmen in Metropolis. They're not like trying to poison the water. Like they're usually a step lower. Superman's villains, ironically, are a step lower than Batman's. But anyway, but it was fun seeing her come up against the traditional, ways of living, and also like seeing these characters that she knew and loved and that she'd idealized, especially Darcy, in flesh and blood. And it was a fun concept. It was well executed. And she was great. She was very likable. She was very warm, funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had really good chemistry, I think, with the actresses who played Lizzie and Jane. Like those scenes were really funny and cute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jane was adorable.
Mm-hmm. And Elizabeth Bennet tells her safety and security come before love. And so that, something that she had never really considered, about the fact that that was all she was focusing on, was just love, the love, the romantic gestures, and that's what she realizes. She's like, I feel safe with Ethan. I feel loved. I feel secure. And so she realizes, oh, he really did love me all along.
Yeah.
Which was sweet.
Yeah, which is sweet. I think the premise and all that gave her that impetus for that catharsis and for that realization. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then she ends up going back, and the cab driver is, I don't know, a cab driver in the world that's going to refuse an additional fare. She's like, will you take me to my and he's like, get out of the car.
He's like, I've got places to be.
Yeah. But then,
I was like, God.
But then she takes the scooter there, and then she tells Ethan that she loves him, and what a whirlwind of a day this has been for him.
Yeah.
He's in it for the long haul.
Like, for him, it's been like an hour, maybe, right?
I mean,
rejected him.
This is because sometimes you watch Hallmark movies, you think, I don't know if this is gonna last. This is gonna last. I mean, he can put up with anything. He knows what he's getting into 100%. And so she realizes that she's in love with him and tells him, and it's very sweet and fun, and that's it. That's the movie. I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, it does lose a few points just because I do think it felt a little rushed at the end, but I would probably give it a 4.
Yeah, out of 5. Same. I think I'll give it a 4 as well, because I feel like I enjoyed a lot of it. Some of it I didn't agree with, like, the whole how Collins and Charlotte end up together, and how I think Darcy and work their way back to each other. It just doesn't make sense. I don't think Darcy would feel romantic sparks after he stopped a woman from marrying another guy. Like,
well, and Wickham of all people.
Yeah, like I don't buy that. But it is what it is. Yeah.
So there we go. That is the Loveuary movies. Let us know what you thought of all 3. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments or on Twitter. And Natasha, where can people follow you? How can they read your 1,000 reviews?
You can check me out on Cultured Vouchers. I write movie stuff, where we do reviews. We also do games, TV, wrestling, and lots of fun stuff. You can read my ramblings on X at Lit My Soul. Yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Very good. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And we have Jane Austen Month going on over there as well. So check that out. I would love that. And make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That would really help us, especially right now, because there was this iPhone update, which really messed up a lot of podcasts. So if you could add your ratings and reviews right now, it would really help us a lot. And then also we have and if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And we have the patron group, which is super fun, and the merch store. So check that out. And we have some Jane Austen inspired merch in the merch store. So take a look. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.